Let's see. All right. Hello, good people. Good day, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to you, wherever you're listening to us right now. I am so happy that you're able to, listen in today on this podcast. Right now, people. I have my coach, my mentor, one that's allowed me to call her friend. I tell you, this episode today will be a life changing one for you. Not just for you, but also for posterity. Your children's children will reap from the discussion of today. And what is that discussion? What are we talking about today? We're talking about uncovering and healing generational money trauma. Yes, you wonder, money trauma, what is that? You're going to hear more about that. Is there something like that? Yes, you're going to hear more about that today and how you would discover your money trauma and how to heal from it so that you do not pass the same to your children and their children. All right. Before I go on, as you know me, I'm always excited about these topics. But before I go on, I love for my guest to come on. She is my mentor. Like I said, she taught me how to be right with my money. She's my coach. She's a friend. It's been an amazing opportunity to work with her. My life has not remained the same again since God brought her me. She's a gift to me pretty much. And here I am. I am sharing that gift with you. And you're gonna thank me later. It's okay. So I'm bringing on Tasha Chen.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Well, with an introduction like that, my heart is full. I'm like, all right, let's talk. Let's go. Let's change some lives today.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. I'm so happy about that. So, Tasha, please, I know people are on the edge of their seats right now, wanting to know, wow, this person that Omowunmi has brought on today, what does she have to offer me? What do you do? What are the programs that you run? Who is Tasha Chen? Maybe we should just start from that. Who are you? What do you do? And how can people connect with you?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to know a little bit more about me as a person and understand how I got to be sharing the message that I share with people and changing lives because I definitely didn't start here. I am a
Hmm.
person, we're talking about money traumas. I was born like at the moment of my arrival on earth, I came with a money wound, right?
Hmm.
So when I entered the earth, it was with all these circumstances in my parents' life that my arrival triggered conversations and events that would shape the rest of my life with money.
Hmm.
And so, if there's anybody who should be talking about this, it would be me. Because it's
Wow.
almost like, growing up, we hear this thing where it's like your destiny. And so, if you believe that you have a destiny and you can't change it, then my
Hmm.
destiny would be that I should not be in the financial position that I'm in because of how I arrived here and the
Hmm.
circumstances around money that came with
Wow.
my arrival, right? So let me just tell you what that was. My mom was 18 years old. She got kicked out of her home.
Hmm.
She got kicked out of school. She had no job. In fact, she was 17 when she was pregnant with me. And by the time I arrived, she had just turned 18.
Wow.
And in Jamaica, which is where I'm from, that means she didn't graduate. She didn't, she really had no educational paperwork to say I'm certified to do anything. And therefore,
Hmm.
living in the country, no job, no opportunity. And really, how are you going to take care of a baby, right? When
Right,
your
right.
family has disowned you, your education is cut off, there's no income. And my father, who was significantly older than my mom, was working. And
Hmm.
so my mom said, I'm going to need some help with this child. And his response was, well, you're going to have to prove that she's mine. Now,
Ooh,
today we have ancestry.com, we have DNA tests, we have all kinds of things. Remember, this is 40 something years ago. In the
right.
country, there is nothing except homes
Hmm.
and a church. That's it,
Right.
right? You even delivered the baby at home. So there is
Hmm.
no way to prove that I
Wow.
am his child.
Wow.
And what that did, though, interestingly, Amawami, I didn't even know that story till a few years ago, but
Mm.
I lived it. I lived a life of having to prove, constantly having to prove that I should have money, that I should be taken care of, that I should be
Mm.
provided for, that I deserve the job, I deserve the little extra bonus, like just
Mm.
constantly having to prove it. So that's how I came into this world. And before I started doing the work that I am doing, what I can tell you looking back is I could see how I really struggled with
Hmm.
something that had nothing to do with me. I was an innocent little baby, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And over the course of my life just you know, put me through circumstances that were challenging. I
Hmm.
ended up filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Like I literally could not escape this destiny.
Hmm.
I had a job and I climbed to the corporate top of the corporate ladder and it was like this is as far as you're going to go, you know?
Hmm.
And then I have a business and I created a seven-figure business and then I lost it. And I had to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I was
Hmm.
married to someone who, was the breadwinner, and then we got divorced. So I had
Wow.
no more source of income. So everywhere I turned in my life, this destiny was kind of shaping what life would look like for me because of
Hmm.
this money wound. And I finally just had my back against the wall and said, something bigger than me is at play here. And
Hmm.
I literally just cried out to God and say, help me, show
Hmm.
me how to move past this and live into what I know for a fact I was created for, which is
Yeah.
abundance, you
Yeah.
know? And 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 God delivered. you
Amen.
know, there were just so many things that all came together, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, and my life changed. I didn't just get the I didn't just get the information and I did nothing about it. I really put it to work in my
Oh,
life. And so the way to tell you who Tasha is I needed to tell you all that so I could explain to you I am the woman who sat on the kitchen floor and cried every single day,
hmm.
fear and hopelessness, and what am I going to do to keep the roof over the head of me and my children? You know,
Hmm.
going from that woman to living my financial dreams.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that I did to get here. There's certain things that I understood finally that was happening that
Hmm.
I needed to work on. And so I not only did this for myself, I've become really passionate about showing people how to do it for them too.
Awesome. Wow. 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 I know, of course, I'm in your program and I've heard this story a number of times. Each time it gives me goosebumps. And
Mm.
again, the feeling is coming on again. And I could remember there was an instance where you went to the mailbox to get the mail, and your son will watch you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you are afraid to open those letters because they are bills, and you're
Yeah.
like, how do I pay my bills?
Yeah.
And I think he said something to you, about that, like,
No,
you
so
know,
what happened that
mm,
day was I had been, I was now divorced. I had
mm,
filed bankruptcy, so and I had no job. So I had, when I tell you every money fear that you can
mm,
possibly have in those circumstances, I still had the two kids, the house, the car, like I still had all the bills. but no income, no husband, no nothing, right? And so
mm,
what was happening was every day I would live in this fear around money. And one day, but even though, so what was interesting when I look back at that time, Omowunmi, is even though nobody wants to live like that. There is
absolutely.
not a single person that says, I am very okay with sitting on the floor, crying all day, feeling like a
Mm,
failure, worrying
mm,
about money, having my bills not, nobody wants to live like that.
absolutely.
But as much as I didn't want it for myself, I just wasn't, like, the thing that inside of me needed to go, what are you doing, was just not activated,
Yeah.
until this day at the mailbox. And what it was, I picked up the kids every afternoon and I would check the mail right before we drove down. I had a long driveway. So right before we finished the drive to actually get into the house. And
Mm,
every day I knew what would be in the mailbox because I knew I hadn't been paying the bills. I didn't have any money.
right.
I knew my bank was in overdraft. So I knew
Mm,
those were going to be in there. And every day I would go to this mailbox with fear. And this particular day, I opened the mailbox as I usually did with all the shame, the guilt, the fear. But thank you, God, this day, I happened to look towards the car and my son and my eyes made contact. And as
mm,
soon as our eyes made contact, I looked away and I said, and I had the awareness to ask myself, why are you looking away? You know, when you've done something wrong and you know it, you know? So I was like,
mm.
why are you looking away? And the answer just came to me. I was like, because I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed and I'm angry at myself for getting me and my family here. And then I said to myself, shoot, this is what my children's future will be if I don't
Ooh,
give this right now. And that was what I needed to, like, get me going. And I said, this will not be the legacy of my children. It will not be, you
mm.
know? And so in that moment, man, that was when when you want something, but you have to get a burning desire for it, and
Right, right.
I was so in my pity party every day crying. I had
Mm,
gotten to that thing that would carry me to that burning desire, but my kids did it for me.
mm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. Ah, if you're listening out there right now, maybe you're at this point, or maybe you're not there yet. You don't have to get there to the
Yeah.
bottom. We are here with the message of hope that whatever has been the foundation of your money story, it's about to change, period. If this is the last day you will find yourself at this bottom, all you need to do is listen right now and take the steps that is needed to get you out of that mess. Thank you so much, Tasha, for sharing that.
You
I
are
really
welcome.
appreciate it. All right, so Tasha, we've all listened. You made that decision at that particular point in time. You uncovered something that you feel you cannot pass this to your children, and that is what I want my listeners to gain from today. In your program, when you do the challenge, the 5-day challenge to get people into your program, you run this uh, money trauma session, that you lead people to uncover these traumas. This is the gifts I want you to give my listeners today. I can as well tell them wait for the next challenge, but I tell you, I have the nudging within my spirit that the people listening right now cannot wait till
Yeah.
the next challenge. And
Yeah.
I so much appreciate that you're willing to do this for me and for them. So please, could you go through, because you usually go through the 13 of them, and hopefully we'll have time today to uncover each of them. So please, can you tell us those money trauma that people have picked up, you know, from their birth, as it is in your case right now, from birth. They've
Yeah.
picked it up, or they've learned it, they've absorbed it from their parents. But we know that if they don't heal it, they will pass it on to their children. So I want you to go through it. There's no much question back and forth today, just you loading us with those values and being able to get us to think and be able to uncover those traumas. So I'm going to shut my mouth now and get you and have you go through this with the audience, with the listeners. What are those money trauma, the generational money trauma that we need to uncover and heal ourselves from, not just for our sakes, but for posterity's sake?
Yeah. So what I want to say is, when I bring up money trauma, most people will say, I don't have money trauma, or what
Mm,
is that? Because
all
we
right.
usually think of trauma as I've been in a situation where I was physically abused or emotionally abused. And so now
Right.
I have trauma. Um, and so when you talk about money trauma, most people will go, "Oh no,
Mm,
I don't have trauma." And think about if you've had a physical or emotional traumatic experience, or even if you have never had one, you can
mm,
imagine if somebody traumatized you, right? Physically or emotionally, what
mm,
you are as a human being, your natural tendency, this is we are wired to protect ourselves, right? So your natural tendency is going to be, I don't want anything to do with this person anymore. I don't want anything to do with this
mm.
situation. Like, back off, get away from me. Or you yourself, you're going to try to run away from it, right? Because
Right.
that experience, that traumatic experience, what happens within your body is you get into flight. You don't want to be part of it. You want to be away from it. Well, the
Mm.
thing about money trauma is most of us don't even know we have it. And
Wow.
when I talk about these 13 traumas, what I want you, those of you listening, to do is to just document. I have 13 of them. So as I describe each one, you are just going to write down the number that applies to you. Have you
Mm,
ever had any experience like any of these? And maybe you have one out of the 13, but that one doesn't mean, oh, I have one of the 13 so I'm good. That one
mm,
could have been so powerful in your life that what I want you to see when I'm done is you're going to realize, no wonder money doesn't come easily for me. No
mm,
wonder I don't believe I deserve to be wealthy. No wonder I think there's something wrong and bad and greedy with wanting money. No
mm,
wonder. It's all going to make sense for you because you're going to see, I've had some traumatic experiences with money. And so, subconsciously, deep within my spirit and my being, I'm literally saying, money, back off, because I remember
mm,
pain associated with you, right? So think about in my situation. Remember, I told you
mm.
I came into the world, I didn't even know I had had this trauma. I didn't
Right.
even know this happened until I was in my 40s. But
Mm,
energetically, it impacted me, and my whole life showed that I had had this trauma because all I kept doing with money was working over hard than everybody else, everywhere I turned, to prove that I should have it. And then if I
mm,
ever got it, I would get rid of it. I didn't want to have it, right?
mm,
Because it was like in my DNA, in my subconscious mind, this money thing. I also have another part of my story where, because my father wouldn't help and my mom was 18 with no support, 6 months after having me, she had to leave. And
mm.
I never lived with my mom again till I was 10 years old. And
Wow.
as a child, I knew that was because of money. I knew it. So again, it's like, here comes this money. Well, if I'm going to have money, I'm going to lose love. So I don't want money. There's
Mm,
so many things. But I'm going to go into the 13. I'm going to list them really quickly. Where I'm not going to, they're self-explanatory. As soon as I say them, you'll be able to identify yours, and then we'll continue the conversation from there.
mm,
So number one, growing up, did you have any painful experience that involved money? And I want you to look at it as, okay, actually, I want to redefine that. Not just throughout your life. any time in your life, as a child, as a teenager, as an adult, last week, yesterday, any time
Hmm.
in your life, have you had a painful experience that money was involved? And for most of my clients, the two big things that come up when I ask them this is divorce. Number
Hmm.
one, this person that I loved for forever, thought we were going to create a life and have a family, now does not want to be with me anymore, and maybe you were even okay with that, but the
Hmm.
thing that either caused us to get here, or now that we are here, that we are at each other's throat about, is money.
Hmm.
Right? So it's a very painful experience that got caused or created because money was involved. Another
Hmm.
one is, as a child, for many of us, we saw our parents either suffer, struggle, or fight
Hmm.
over money. And
Hmm.
sometimes people say, I never saw my parents fight. But you know what, Tasha? I felt it.
Wow.
I felt their worries. I felt
Wow.
their struggle. I felt that they were feeling hopeless. And the pain that they were feeling, I got, even if I never saw them fighting. I got
Hmm.
to it, you know? So that's number one.
Hmm.
Number two, someone controlled or manipulated you and money was involved. Someone controlled or manipulated you and money was involved. Um, I could say so much right here, but I think
Right.
if this is you, you know it. You know, I myself, I'll be totally honest. By the way, the way I came up with these 13 things is because I've been through every single one of them.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
how I know. And then what I saw was my people that I serve were also having the effects of the same things. And I was like, wow, so there's probably thousands of money traumas, but these are
Hmm.
the top 13 that I see the most often. So you can
Hmm.
imagine if someone was controlling or manipulating you at some point in your life and you knew money was involved, you wouldn't, it's
Right.
funny, you wouldn't, as human beings, here's what's interesting with the psychology behind this. You don't even necessarily say to yourself, I don't want to talk to that person again. What you say
Right.
is, it's the money that's causing this. So I hate money. Money is what
Hmm.
making me feel this way. That's what's interesting, right?
Right. So we equate money with the way the person is treating us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
you will continue to talk to the person, but internally and psychologically, you will create a block to money,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So, yeah. And sometimes the reason is it's just survival. That person, many times, is someone you love.
Right. Right.
Right? And you can't unlove them. So it's easier to just blame the money and block the
Mm.
money, right?
Mm.
So,
Mm.
number three is family approval linked to money. The story that comes to my mind all the time is one of my clients had a sister, and the sister did really well financially, and then she married someone who was also doing really well financially, and my client was not. She had gotten married, she'd gotten divorced, there was a whole fight over money. She was now a single mom, barely making it, and the mom of these two sisters looked down on her and put the sister on a pedestal as, oh, she's the successful
Mm.
one, you're the failure, right? And so you're not going to hate your mom, you're going to be angry
Right.
at money. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's number three, is family approval linked to money. Number
Mm.
four, feeling inferior or inadequate because of money. And my favorite example of this is, when we get into the comparison mode, just open Facebook or Instagram, and you
Yeah.
you you probably have this trauma 10 times a day, right?
Mm.
This one is
Mm.
in Dubai. That one is
Mm.
working at the beach. This one has
Mm.
their perfect home, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, gosh, I don't even feel
Yeah.
like I'm succeeding, right? So
Mm.
trauma. You get traumatized when you put yourself through that.
Right.
Number
Right.
five, you feel like a prisoner. You feel burdened or trapped or this is another one, you know that you are staying or you have stayed in a situation that you don't want to be in,
Hmm.
and it's because of money. And I knew a long time before I got divorced that I needed to be divorced.
Wow.
Um, but I saw no way that I could provide for myself financially. It was like I couldn't,
Hmm.
it was not an option for me to pursue my own happiness,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so there are many people that are doing that. Another big one is you feel a prisoner to, for example, your debt. All the time people say,
Hmm.
I have so much in loans, I have so much in student loans, I have so much in credit card bills, and I just feel like a prisoner to it. Like
Right.
literally the only reason I work seems like to pay these debts.
Hmm.
So that makes you just feel trapped, like something you
Right.
can't get out of.
Right.
So that's number five.
Yeah, that's for me on that number five. The way it materialized for me was when I was still, at my job. I
Yeah.
knew I needed to leave, I needed to resign, but I was still staying on because of the fear of where will I get a replacement money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
Great
feeling,
example. Great
mm,
example.
mhm.
Number six, you've been excluded, and this is more a social exclusion because of
Right.
money. It's like, how come? I remember my daughter in school when she was in school here, and I live in a very affluent town, and I've raised my children to be very, I don't want to say the word humble, but not to give like their all to, which brand name you're wearing versus which one you're not. And so, for whatever reason, my daughter, she struggled a lot because it seemed like everyone was always having parties and events that she was not invited to. And
Ooh.
it was the feeling of, well, I'm not affluent enough. I don't roll like them. My mom drops me to school. I don't drive a Mercedes, And
Ooh.
so you feel like this social exclusion, and you're like, I know it's because of money.
Mm,
I'm not like they are because I don't
mm.
have what they have. And trauma.
All right. Right.
Number seven, you've made money choices that you deeply regret. And I think
Mm.
every single person watching has at least this one, right? Whether you loan money to your friend or a
Mm.
relative, or you made an investment that didn't work out, or you didn't save enough money, whatever it is, you made some money
Right.
decisions that you deeply regret, keeps you awake at night. You want to go on, do it, you want to do something different, and you can't, and it just sits in your spirit, and you're
Mm.
traumatized by it,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Hmm.
um Number eight, you watch love and harmony disappear over money. This is for many people in our community. They've had the death of a loved one, and you're all sitting there, you all love each other until the moment you realize, oh, we didn't get equal amounts, or we have to split, or
Ooh.
whatever, and now you're literally fighting over a sewing machine. Like the
Mm.
most irrelevant things, and you are just, it's like this. And 5 minutes ago you love each other, and 5 minutes later, and it's because of money,
Mm.
right? And so again, you're not gonna hate and be angry at these people you've loved your whole life. You're going
Right.
to create something inside and attach it to money.
Mm.
Number nine. So remember, you're documenting everyone that applies to you, right? So far, those of
Right.
you listening. Number nine, you made choices in life that had a money component, and it brought you guilt or shame.
Mm.
You made choices in life that had a money component, and
Wow.
that thing brought you guilt or shame.
Okay.
You know, um, I can think of a few examples of this, but I'll give you one that's me.
Mm.
Just a few months ago, I had made an investment. I'd made a couple of investments, and they went south. And in
Mm.
total, I lost approximately $150,000.
Ooh.
like overnight,
That, like that.
like
Wow.
that. And here was the thing, I felt so ashamed of myself because I
Hmm.
felt like I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't learn enough. I wasn't responsible enough. I didn't take the precautions that I should have, that I didn't treat money with honor and respect. I was like, oh, I have lots of it. So, let me just throw it
Yeah.
over there in this investment,
Hmm.
right? And there's a
Hmm.
lot of guilt around that. And I know I was traumatized because what happened immediately after, I started seeing myself, I don't want to spend any money. Every little penny, let me put it
Ooh.
here, right, in a bank account, earning 0%, all
Hmm.
because of the trauma. Because now I went into, oh, I'm so scared. Let me hold on to the money. And I saw it, right? And I had to do the work to move past it. And I've
Wow.
now reinvested, but from the lesson that I learned. But I saw when I was in the trauma, I saw what I started to do, right?
Hmm.
So that's another one.
Awesome. Awesome.
Number 10.
Tasha, sorry, before you go on, I love what you just touched on, and that is the traits, the things we begin to see in us that
Hmm.
shows us this is a sign of a money trauma. Can you
Yeah.
touch on that a little bit more?
Oh,
Like,
and
if you look at yourself, what can you see right now that will tell you you are experiencing money trauma?
well, it's not that necessarily that you're experiencing money trauma. Sometimes it
Okay.
could be that you're in the middle of a trauma. It's more, I'm behaving this way because I've been traumatized,
Very true.
right? So, for example, the example that I just gave, I saw myself. But if
Hmm.
you watch yourself hoarding money, right? You tell yourself, oh, I'm just saving and being responsible. No, you're in fear.
That was me.
Yeah, you're in fear
Guilty.
because of a trauma. If you see yourself feeling bad or wrong, or you feel guilty because deep in your mind, you're like thinking, I really want more money. But like me, one of my traumas was from church, where it
Mm.
was like, it is bad and wrong to love
To,
money, right?
mm.
Yeah. Or only the people who, I went to a Pentecostal church. I don't know if you know what that is, but I grew up in a
Yeah.
Pentecostal church. And
Hmm.
when I tell you, when they're up there and you're a little kid and they're like going at it, and every week it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to
Rich
get to heaven.
man to get into
And so
heaven.
in my little innocent mind, I was like, well, then I want to go to heaven. So I don't want to be rich. Right? And the
Hmm.
trauma of the intensity of how the preacher said it and how bad he made it and how wrong,
Wow.
you would think it would inspire me, but it brought fear into me. And so I was
Mm.
like, I don't want to be rich. And so you see yourself like in life experiences where you get money, then you lose it,
Right.
or you just can't get more than enough, right?
Mm.
You have a good job, all right, but I mean, you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're just like, you really have nothing to show for it. And it's like,
Right.
it's not because you're not a good person. It's not because
Mm.
you don't know what to do. It's because you're traumatized. You're blocking money,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So those are some of the things, but because I know how important it is to your audience to talk about legacy, I'm going
Hmm.
to give you an example of when another time in my life where I saw firsthand what my money traumas and my limitations had caused in my children. So now I saw it starting
Wow.
to manifest. So my
Wow.
daughter, my daughter did a program where she was in high school and college at the same time for 2 years, right?
Mm.
Which means she was out of her normal social environment with her friends in high school having fun. She was actually going to a
Wow.
college, right, with grown-ups. So the last
Mm.
2 years, she had none of that social interaction, none of the fun that most high schoolers are doing. She started to be excluded from stuff because she just wasn't there. And all because she could get like this opportunity to um, get 2 years off of college, right?
Hmm.
And so she said to me, she goes, I want to go to the University of Miami. Now, in Florida, that is like the Harvard of Florida. It is
Hmm.
also the price tag of Harvard, right?
Wow.
It's a private university, and it is 4 years of education there is anywhere between 360,000 to 450,000. Like you could buy
Wow.
a house, right? Okay. So she says to me, I'm very clear. I want to go
Hmm.
to the University of Miami and I am going to do everything in my power to get there. But you guys are going to
Hmm.
need to figure out the finances, right? And
Hmm.
let me tell you, I watch her work hard, hard. And long story short, she gets in. Now, because she works so hard and she's
Hmm.
done all the right things, I realize that she has a story she's operating off of, which is she knows the costs, but she's thinking she's going to get a lot of scholarships, right?
Hmm.
So she gets accepted. We're so happy. We go to orientation, and part of orientation is to meet with the financial advisor so they can tell us, the little amount your parents will have to pay.
We'll have to pay.
Right.
Hmm.
So we're sitting there in front of the financial advisor, and the financial advisor does the numbers and says, this is the amount your parents are going to have to come up with. And my daughter went from the energy of everything in her life that she's ever wanted has manifested to
Hmm.
bottom of the barrel, right? And so I look at her and we're at lunch and she's just sad and sulking and she's not saying anything. And
Wow.
finally I say, hey, what's going on with you? She's like, Mom, I don't have a plan B. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, well, why do we need a plan B? Like, I'm
Exactly.
confused.
Exactly.
And she's like, we can't afford this. Now,
Ooh.
Awami, at this point, I have a whole business teaching people how to manifest money. My whole
Wow.
career is around teaching people to look at their money story, change it, and manifest
Hmm.
money. And here's my child
Hmm.
sitting in money fear. And I couldn't even be upset with
Wow.
her because what I realized in that moment was that was the legacy that I had passed down to her. She had
Ooh.
watched me. Remember, I told you how I would cry when they were at school? We're kidding
Right.
ourselves into thinking, oh, she never saw me crying. She felt
Hmm.
it.
She
She lived
felt
in that house
it
with me.
with that energy
Yes.
hovering over her.
She felt it. And when she sat there, I looked at her and I mean, my body, I was like, oh my gosh, there is the
Whew.
result of my money fears. And I looked at her and I
Wow.
said, let me tell you something. In this
Hmm.
family, we do not operate from I can't afford it.
Right.
That is not how we roll. Because I have the chance, all right, woe is me. I'm the one that made her think like this. But in the moment, I
Mm.
could also change it for
Change it.
her.
Turn it around
Yeah.
real quick.
I
Wow.
said, Natasha, we think, how can I afford it? And let me tell you something. I don't know how we're going to afford it. I
Mm.
have no clue right now. Maybe I'll go sell banana bread. In fact, I have a post on Facebook where I wrote this out. I might be selling banana bread, carrot cake. I make a mean lemonade. I don't know what I'm going to do, but you will be going to this school. Period.
Mm.
End of
End
story.
of story.
And
Wow.
and I knew, Amawami, that in that moment, I was healing traumas for myself,
Hmm.
traumas for her, and I knew I needed for her to go to that school. I did not know where
Hmm.
the money was coming from. You heard me tell you how much it was.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't know where it was coming from, but I knew, like I knew that I needed her to go there because I needed to break that cycle and for her to
Hmm.
see we can afford it. We
Wow.
serve a God
Wow.
of infinite supply,
Right.
right? So yeah.
Wow. I'm so glad you brought that up because I know you taught us in the program this particular principle, the fact that never ever look at an expense and say, I cannot afford it. Now,
Yeah.
before that time, when my kids tell me, oh, they go to the store, look at a price tag and say, oh, we can afford this. I used to be happy. Like my children are
Responsible.
right. Like, yes, they are responsible. But when I heard you teach, about the consequence of that in their money story, money mindset, how damaging it
Yeah.
could be if it's not corrected. I've changed it for them right now. I'm not saying be a waster, but
Yeah.
know that whatever you desire, you can have. Don't
Yeah.
say I cannot afford it, but
Yeah.
look for how can I afford this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that.
All right. So we have four more to go. So
Yeah.
I think number 10, I feel like I said
Yes.
this, but maybe I
You
didn't.
did number 9. We
Okay.
stopped at number 9. So now going to number 10.
Okay. So number 10 is you had lots of money and you lost it,
Mm,
right? And lots, is different. For me,
of
it's
course.
150,000. For you, Amawami, you might feel the same way if you lost $500. I
Right,
remember one
right.
time I lost a $20 bill at the flea market, and I was in college at the time. That $20 was my world, you know. So it's a lot
Of
is relative.
course.
But
Right,
it's that
right.
you had some money and you lost it, and it just created this trauma for you, right?
Mm, mm.
Number 11, you've been shamed over money.
Ooh.
Like, this is a big one in families. I see a lot of my clients who, what they're working through is they grew up very in humble circumstances, and now
Mm,
they're striving for more. And then their
mm.
family or their mom or dad saying, "What's wrong with you? Why can't you just be
Exactly.
satisfied?"
Be
You know?
content.
Why can't you
Mm,
be content? What do
mm,
you want? Or don't you know what the Bible says, that it's wrong to want money, and you're shamed
mm,
over your desire for money.
mm,
Um, one of mine was, I had a business idea and I shared it with my husband at the time, and from his limitations and his fears and his trauma,
right.
he shamed me into saying, "You're crazy. What are you? What?
Hmm.
Are you, why? What are you? You're crazy." So that's number 11. Number 12 is, maybe at some point in your life or all of your life, you've had a really hard time. There were a few years for me where things were really hard. You suffered or you struggled, and it was because of money.
Of money. Wow.
Yeah. You were in a struggling experience with life, and it was because you didn't have enough money. That's the only reason why you were
Mm,
struggling, right? So yeah, you resent it.
mm,
Number
mm,
13, you feel like you failed, or you're
mm.
not where you should be financially.
Right.
And for those of us that are in the wiser years, the mid to late 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and if this is our constant battle. I'm not where I should be financially, and you enumerate over that so much that you start creating trauma for yourself, right?
Mm,
Um, so these are the 13 different traumas that I've identified most people have experienced.
yeah.
And I hope that everyone listening just documented which one applies to them.
Right.
And in the interest of time, I know when I talk about these traumas, what happened is people go, oh my God, I never knew. And it's very heavy, you
Mm,
know?
absolutely.
So I have a responsibility. I don't want to leave you in that place.
Right, right. Thank you.
I definitely wish I could say, "Here you go, it's gone."
Mm,
I really wish I could do that. That's just not life. It took
right,
us 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years to get to the place where we now operate from this trauma.
right.
It can't go away like that. I wish it could,
Yeah.
right? So it involves work, but here's what I will tell you in this moment. The simple way to just begin the process of healing this
I love that.
is to bring acceptance to it, is to look
Mm,
at whatever the numbers were that you wrote down, and just accept it. You know what? I have been through some things in my life with money
mm,
that have caused me trauma. I have. And the one thing that we were given by our maker, that is our most powerful gift, is we have free will. At
right.
any moment we can choose. We can choose differently. It says, We can renew our mind in an instant. We can be born again in an instant. That's how
Right,
powerful we are.
right.
So step number two is, and in this moment, I choose to forgive the circumstances. I choose to forgive myself. I choose to forgive the people. And I just choose to let this go.
Hmm.
It might not happen today, but I am choosing to forgive it all and to let it go.
Right. Awesome.
And then step number three is, how do I really want to show up and experience money now?
Hmm.
One of my clients, I was on a call with someone actually to have them join my program. And she said, the reason I called you and I want to do your work is I have looked back at my family history for 400 years. I went
Hmm.
back 400 years and there
Wow.
has never been money, any amount of significant amount of money in our family. No one in
Wow.
400 years. And
Wow.
and I said to her, "Well, I am so proud of you that you are on this call because you recognize you can change that.
Right. Right.
In this moment, you can decide, what do I want for my
Hmm.
children? Like my moment at the mailbox. I don't want them to have this fear over money and worry and concern and feeling wrong and not succeeding financially. I want them to
Hmm.
thrive. That's the legacy that I want for my children. And I realize I can send them to school, I can send them to the best colleges, I can do all the right things on paper. But if they have that trauma passed down from me, they have it. And no matter
Hmm.
what they do, it's inside of them. So
Hmm.
the work that needs to be done, yes, send them to school. Yes, give them the best opportunities. Teach them to play the piano, do all of it.
Hmm.
But the most important work you can do to end this is to end it with you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 I mean, this is. Thank you, Tasha.
You're welcome.
This is life transforming. Each time I go through this uncovering and the way you explain them, you bring newer lights to them every time.
Yeah.
And it makes one to begin to, kind of see it in a different way. Okay, maybe this is manifesting in this way this time,
Yeah.
right? Like you rightly mentioned, recently you uncovered something as well. So it's
Mhm.
not like I'm healed and done and
Yeah.
experiences of life, because life is not perfect.
Yeah.
Experiences of life will continue to happen, but now that we know better, now that we understand and we are in the know and with the awareness of what is going on, we don't stay stuck in that trauma. We move towards healing. And thank you so much for going through those steps with us today. People, oh my world. This is amazing. So thank you so much, Tasha. And the final question that I would love to ask before we leave. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. But I want this conversation to continue, but I know you're very, very busy, and I appreciate the hour you've spent with me today. This is gold.
Yeah.
This is gold. I so much appreciate it. So, folks, this is not the end of the journey. This is just the beginning. Okay. This is bringing you to the awareness of what is affecting your money, what is affecting wealth. One of the ones that affected me so much is as if the immediately money comes to my hand, is as if it can't find where to stay. It leaves immediately. As
Mm.
soon as the money comes, the quicker it comes, the faster it goes.
Mm.
So by the time I realized that, I started the work
Yeah.
towards now embracing money, now welcoming, being
Mm.
open to receiving. being open to receiving. That was a big one for me too.
Yeah.
Being open to receiving. So Tasha has brought a gift. Yeah, she's not just here with herself, a whole gift, I mean, a whole blessing, but she brought us a gift as well. So on go to I'm going to put this link in the description of this podcast, and for those on YouTube, you see it on the video. Go to tashachan.com/money gratitude. There you're going to get a free copy of her journal prompt. Yes, for those on Facebook, she's showing it to you right now. You're going to see, I mean, those on YouTube, you're going to see, you're going to be able to download this. Another thing that Tasha taught me was how to journal. Now, you know how to journal. You've heard about money attraction. You've heard about, how to, do your affirmations and things. The way Tasha teaches it, the way she does it, it's unique and different, and you get results. You get results. So I want to invite you, go to that link, and from there, I'm sure she'll be able to lead you to how to join the community, on the Facebook. And on Mondays, she has a Facebook Live on Monday mornings on my time zone. You'll be able to see the poster where she will announce it, and you follow. If you follow me on Facebook, I repost her life on my page every Monday. Yeah, as if I'm in attendance, I repost it. So, and then on Thursdays, she's on Clubhouse. Come and discuss, your money fears. Come and discuss how to make sure that you are right with your money, not just for your sake, but also for the sake of your children and your children's children. Whew, this has been amazing. Thank you, Tasha.
Thank
Any
you.
parting words for us today before you leave?
I really just want to say, the gift that I have is this it's a 30-day gratitude journal for money. And one of the things that I have, I love, like, here's an easy thing you can do to start to repair your relationship with money, or start, try to work on healing the trauma. And I just love, what is the simplest way I can start, Tasha? So this gift, I would love for everybody listening and watching to
Mm,
download the journal, because for 30 days, you just get to be in gratitude to money. And
okay.
it's amazing how just being thankful creates healing, transformation, and you it's like you start to manifest things that you have longed for, and now they start showing up in your life because you're doing this healing work. So I'd love for everyone to get that journal, and please come join me.
Awesome.
Like Omowunmi says, every Monday morning I do a Facebook Live, and I have, just more conversations like this. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for joining me today, joining this conversation today. And I look forward to hearing from you. Which of those 13 is your trauma that you've uncovered? And
Mhm.
then let's begin. And then how you've applied what Tasha went through, the steps. And then what is now your experience? What are you now experiencing? So please reach out to me on my IG, on Facebook. Let me know if you need to talk to Tasha as well. You want to work with her directly, please reach out. Let me know, because she is a blessing to this generation, and our children would thank us for, you know, coming in contact with her at a time like this. So till I come your way again, thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Do not forget, because everything you do affects generations to come, always remember to do good. God bless you. Next time.